temporarily because I was doing these tool poster doodles.
Wait,
And but yeah, I've got my big printer set up back here. Just
Nice.
barely enough room.
black.
Yeah, like
Oh, we're live.
what?
It
What?
works.
Oh shit!
Sorry.
And you
Fix
just
it.
deleted your post.
And I just,
Fix
I
it.
just deleted that little section of the post, but it's no big deal. People who know.
Okay.
We are
So,
live. So, okay,
no.
finally.
Yes.
Holy smokes.
Yay!
Take a second.
Yay!
Let me test the volume.
People who
Hello.
test.
Testing 1 2.
So, okay, finally.
Hi there.
Test.
Take a second.
Testicles.
I'm just trying to see if there's volume on our
Check,
on
check.
the YouTube.
Check.
YouTube link.
Do. Hi there.
Dude.
I can post something that says we're live.
Yeah,
We are live.
Yeah, I'm gonna.
Okay, cool.
I'm gonna go back in there and fucking.
I think it's at man, what is the URL? But yeah, there is somebody here. I think you could just tell people it's youtube.com/giant robot magazine. That seems to work.
Okay.
But eventually we'll get our own.
yeah. I have set that up, Eric.
Okay, let's do it.
What is it? YouTube dot what?
youtube.com/giant robot magazine, and they'll find the stream there.
Okay, YouTube.
Because there's other people here already. All right.
Nice.
What? Okay. So last week we had a problem with our stream, so we had to do it recorded and then uploaded. But this time, Giant Robot and the Bear, we're all here.
Yes. And
It's
with special
episode
guest, Chet
so
Czar.
Chet Czar, episode
Hey.
63.
Yes.
But sorry,
Chet
we're
Czar,
kind of a messy because we're now resharing the social media because we thought we were gonna record this and then put it up, but we are actually live right now, so very nice.
So Chet Czar, episode number 63, he is a longtime friend of mine, and he artist extraordinaire. If you're not familiar with his work, I feel it is very October appropriate.
Oh, wow.
And he also has a podcast, the Dark Art Society, which is the reason why his sound is going to be fantastic. He's got the gear.
Yes.
And he just Chet, you just had a show open up that you curated called the Dark Art Society at Copro Gallery.
Yeah.
How's it going?
Oh, it's going good. It's going good. It's weird having a show during a pandemic, but people showed up and people buy artwork online anyway nowadays. So,
I actually had to wait in line to get into that show.
I didn't even go. My wife's like, no, you shouldn't go. She's, I'm like, I'm a little older, a little overweight, a little bit of a smoker. I'm kind of like a higher risk guy. So I'm just like, you know what? I also had like this other huge deadline I had to get done. So it's like it all just kind of amounted to me not going. But I heard it was
Meanwhile,
good.
I, who am in a similar situation, now exhaling a cloud of, nicotine vapor, did go.
You like to live on the edge.
So, Chet, like you and I have known each other since 2003 or 2004.
Yeah.
When I first met you, you were known as the guy who did the Tool freaking stop motion video or something. Who worked on that. Let's start there. Like,
okay.
You did work on the Tool stop motion, that one super famous one that everyone like.
I didn't work on the super famous one. The first one is that one that's like really Brothers Quay like. The Brothers Quay, the stop motion dudes. It's a lot. It looks similar to that, and that's the one that's the song "Sober." I think that's the big hit they first had.
Right.
And then they did another one called "Prison Sex," which is really awesome. And I didn't work on that one either. but the third one, there's a third one called "Stink Fist" off the next album, which was like another kind of hit for them. I came in to just do like a couple days helping my friend Cam DeLeon out, who also was kind of showing when we started showing at Cannibal Flower way back when.
Yeah, Cam.
Yeah, and so I was helping him do body painting, and I did like one last minute effect of this tumor thing on this guy's back, and I did some makeup application. Then after that, video for the song Anima, I keyed the effects crew. Like I did
Hmm.
all the effects and the puppets. I didn't do the animating. And then the one after that, which was called Schism, which was like the biggest budget Tool video, I think, of them all. And it was just a lot of physical effects, some stop motion animation. I did all the me and my crew did all the effects for that, and I also did like live 3D animation for their live shows that I
Oh
think they
wow.
still use them to this day, like projections.
Mm-hmm.
But it's all
Wow.
from around that time. It was like late '90s, I think, when I started working with them, and when we started showing together, and
Mm-hmm.
in the 5 year period, maybe 5 to 7 year
Wow.
period.
So you're doing a lot of like industry kind of stuff, effects work,
Yeah,
before you.
prior to showing, I started working in the makeup effects field, doing sculpting and painting creatures and makeups and stuff like that. Like when I was 19 or something, like a year
Hmm.
out of high school, and then I did that for until I was able to escape and become a fine artist
Yeah.
in
Wow.
like 2000. I don't know. Land of the Lost was the last like official movie I worked on in 2013, maybe.
Wow.
Oh, I
Yeah,
didn't
but I
even know
was
they did a Land of the Lost movie.
yeah
That's
remake.
stuff the Slee Stats.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Flea stacks.
I
Yeah.
worked on the Slee Stacks a little bit. Did some designs for them, but I I made the decision to become a fine artist in 2000,
Mm.
and then I started teaching myself to paint, and I started showing, when we started showing. But I mean, I had a background in art and drawing and sculpture from the makeup effects business, and then
But oh,
I'm sorry. Then I just tried to work my way out of the business once made that decision. And it took
that's
me,
funny.
I don't know how many years, 10 years or something. So I was like working in the day and then painting and night and weekends.
How do you get from being like 18 years old or 19 and then getting in that business? That doesn't sound. That sounds like a young entry into this
Yeah.
everything. Yeah.
I got the bug when I was like 12 years old. I started getting into, I was kind of a nerdy kid. I was really into art and really into, movie making and kind of nerdy stuff like that. And I remember in 1978, I saw Dawn of the Dead, the original one, and had all these gore effects, and I was just like, I got to know how to do this. I got to know how they did that. It was so shocking to me. And then I saw The Howling in like 1980 or 81, and that werewolf transformation was just like, oh, this is it. This is what I want to do. I have to do this because I was like a big monster geek also, so it's like I want to make monsters. So I basically started getting books, going to the library back in the day when you went to the library. There was no internet, and you wrote letters to people and shit. So I just started kind of teaching myself through any books or magazines I could find, and basically built a portfolio up through high school because I knew that I wanted to get into business. So,
Wow.
yeah, I was
That's
driven.
crazy.
I was driven from an
So
early
Yeah.
you
age.
were doing practical effects stuff while you're in high school, like
Hmm.
for special effects, like blood effects and
Hmm.
wound effects and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
it just took that portfolio with you into the entertainment industry, and they're like, oh, this kid's got something.
Yeah, but pretty much. I took one of the things I did after I got out of high school. I kind of bummed around for a year. I was really shy, so I was shy about going and showing my portfolio around. So I took. My dad gave me the money to take this Dick Smith makeup effects correspondence course, which is kind of like still the foundational makeup effects text. You could still take it. It's got like Dick Smith was like the godfather of makeup effects. They called him. He did The Exorcist and Dustin Hoffman old age makeup in Little Big Man and Taxi Driver and The Godfather. And he's just like Amadeus, the old age of makeups and Amadeus and
Wow.
stuff. So he was like the guy who invented all these techniques. So I took the course, and I was connected, through letters and phone calls through different students. And we would like write back and show each other pictures and stuff. Cause it was like, it was a small community back then. Um, and this one guy, Toby Sells, who I met, he came out to LA and he wanted me to drive him around to show his portfolio because he was trying to break into the business. So I drove him around to some shops. He had all the addresses, and he was showing his book, so I would show my book. And then eventually, out of one of those, I got hired by a guy named Tony Gardner, and he hired me to like do molds and stuff for him, to kind of be his assistant. And then he landed the Blob, the remake of the Blob, which was a big effects show, and that was kind of my first big effects movie. And then we did like Dark Man after that, and
Wow.
Swamp Thing cable series. And he started a shop from that, Army of Darkness, a lot of Adam's Family and stuff, a lot of cool movies.
Army of Darkness.
Yeah,
Classic.
It's a great movie.
That is definitely one of my favorite Sam Raimi films of all time still.
Yeah, me too.
You know, so
definitely.
And
awesome.
Then you started. So when did you start, like, you know, like painting with the intention of moving toward being a studio artist?
Well, I always dabbled throughout my whole life. I was always drawing. Drawing was always, no matter what art I was doing, effects, I was drawing. So I had a good command of the pencil, and I was airbrushing. So I was painting masks and stuff like that. So I was, kind of painting a little bit and doing like little paintings here and there, just dabbling. And I got a job at Rick Baker's. Rick Baker. He's like the 9 Academy Award winner.
Also, I was gonna say legendary.
Yeah, he's like kind of.
I don't know how old he is though. How old is
Rick? Is probably okay. Rick is like late 60s, maybe.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I can't. Like I've heard his name for so long. I'm like, either he's 100 or he started really young, like, and he's like 45 or something. I have no idea.
He started pretty young. Like he worked on The Exorcist, helping Dick Smith out.
Wow.
When he was like 16 or something, or 15 or something like that.
Wow.
So anyway, I got a job there, and I started working with a guy named Mitch Devane. This is kind of how it all started. And Mitch is like the best sculptor in the business. He's just amazing. He just recently retired, but he's very bitter about the industry. He was really bitter, and he would always, he's really funny too. And he would always kind of joke about how fucked up the artists and the effects industry have it. And he was constantly pointing out, all this, the way that artists were disrespected in the business. And, I was like, he's kind of right about this. It's like, we're always, our work gets designed by committee. We're all passionate about it. And then they, make us make things look kind of crappy and appeal to the most people, and no artistic vision. You don't get to put your thing in.
Working for the man.
Yeah, exactly. Working for the man, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Your work getting cut out of the movie after you spent 6 months on it,
and it's probably the best part. Like, amazing work. Yeah.
and like pouring your heart and soul into something, and having the movie suck. That's the movie's just bad.
Was Land of the Lost like that?
I never even saw it. I never saw it. I stopped watching them after a certain point, unless it was like a Guillermo del Toro or something movie. But so around that time, I started kind of feeling that way too. Like, oh man, this is not really, this is not. I don't know. I just felt like I got to be a sculptor at Rick Baker's and a creature designer. It's like you can't really go any higher than that with doing what I do. So it's like, okay, I've reached that point. And it's kind of like the same thing over and over at this point. This is 15 years in or so. And so I just, around that time I was getting into Juxtapose magazine, and I discovered Mark Ryden and Robert Williams and of course, Giger and Frazetta and all these guys from way back. But I was like, Brahm is another one, Chris Mars. And I was like, these guys are kind of doing sort of what I would like to do as a fine artist. Oh, one other important element. I was when I was thinking about leaving effects, I was into digital effects around that time. I started dabbling and teaching myself 3D animation, stuff that Tool ended up using. Some of that stuff was like from my demo reel, just weird looping animations I made. So I had a contact with Clive Barker, because we were at the company I was working with was going to do a toy line with him. And so I had his phone number. So I'm like, maybe Clive Barker, I want to start a little digital studio, doing digital effects. Maybe Clive Barker will give me a job. And this is before I really started, considering fine art. So I sent him my videotape, my VHS tape, and and I called him, and he said, "Yeah, I saw your tape." He remembered me. He was a really nice guy because we had meetings and stuff. He said, "I don't have any work for you, but you really should think about being a fine artist because you have a vision. I could see with just this demo reel that you have a particular vision."
Wow.
And I was like, wow, Clive Barker was one of my heroes. I was read all his books and everything. And so, I really started thinking about it then. And that was all around the time when I was, like I said, I was reading Mark Ride, discovering Mark Ride and all these juxtaposed artists.
And all those guys. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So that was then, that was around 2000. I was working on Planet of the Apes, the Tim Burton, the really dumb one. That was a good example of this huge budget movie with the effects are amazing and the movie was totally stupid. But so I was working on that, and I was in the makeup effects trailer on set, and they were doing like fight scenes in the desert, and they would bring back these chimp and gorilla gloves and that were all torn up that I had to repair. So I had to sit in this trailer for like 12 hours a day, and then every 4 hours they would bring me 5 pairs of gloves, and I'd have to paint them up so they look nice again, and then I give them back. It was just super boring. And I had this pad of paper there and a bunch of acrylic paints that I was repairing these gloves with, and I was like, maybe I'll try and make a little painting. And if I could do a painting here, then maybe I could be a painter. Because I was originally thinking of being like a fine art sculptor,
Wow.
because that's what was my background in effects. And so I did this little painting, and it looked good, And so I was like, okay, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna try and be a painter. And then I found out about Cannibal Flower from someone at Rick Baker's also, and started showing there, and just kept doing it, kept pursuing it.
Wow.
Cool. So you can credit Clive Barker as for your art career, kind of, right?
Yeah, totally.
That's weird, right? Like,
totally.
Who would you credit, Luke? Do you have someone you can credit, like a person that just said, "Luke, what are you doing? You should be," And it's if it is, it's probably not Clive Barker, right?
It is definitely not Clive Barker. It's funny when you mentioned
Stephen King.
I know.
It's funny. Stephen King told me I should be an artist.
Actually, no. I mean, all I have is my college professors. But it's funny. I was just when you mentioned Clive Barker, I always reflect back. There used to be an art gallery in South Coast Plaza. And I remember going there in the 90s and seeing like the Clive Barker and Robert Williams show.
Oh wow.
That was there. And and I never even thought too much about it because I didn't really ever have I didn't have artistic aspirations in the 90s just because it seems so daunting.
Right.
As another artist who doesn't have a fancy art school background,
right.
When you think of working studio artists, it just seems so far removed from a world of possibility, and but LA is kind of a unique city in that sense because you don't need fancy degrees and fancy educations to be able, as long as you have a vision and the talent or the perseverance to make it happen, you can make it happen.
All the resources are there if you're willing to do the work,
Right.
I mean,
I don't know so much about now, but but in 2000 and in the early 2000s, it was so really there. And actually you mentioned Cannibal Flower, and LC, the founder of Cannibal Flower, which has now since folded, is I credit him with everything for
totally. Me too.
Giving me helping my career get started, and creating
I think
a venue.
I think he did that for us both around the same time. He was kind of the first guy to really show us.
Yeah, absolutely.
So he's the man.
He is, and I mean, he is. He helps run Think Space Gallery, and he has a bar. I'm not sure whether it's open now during the pandemic, called Art Bar, I think, in like
Oh
Venice.
yeah, that's right.
It's in Mar Vista.
Is it Mar Vista?
Yeah, I've driven by it a bunch of times, but I haven't seen it. I don't know if it's open.
Yeah, I don't know either.
Yeah.
But like it's it's the way things have, like, I feel so fortunate to have, like, I'm sure you could say the same thing, to have come in when we came in, because
Mm-hmm.
it moves quick. It moves quick when you get some people, some attention. And but
Yeah, you blew up. You blew up before I got. I've had a slower, steadier climb.
Mhm.
You just kind of went boom. I don't know at what point, but you just like shot past everybody, and you were like,
I'm like,
selling out every show. Like I haven't.
do this.
I only sold a show out probably for the first time maybe like a couple years ago. Like I was always like half. I would sell half or 3/4 maybe if I was lucky.
And now that's where I'm at. I'm like,
but all those, that's all great. That's all great as it is.
Yeah.
Wow,
If
that's
you're
great.
selling anything, man, you're doing all right. If you're selling one painting, you're doing all right. But remember,
Plus, you guys came in at what is it, before the economic, like a downturn of economics, right? Like 2008. So you guys came in at a great time, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had built up my fan base pretty well online. As I was building my career, I was really focusing hard. MySpace on, MySpace. I had 30,000 people on there. I was like really working it.
Yep.
And I remember when the crash came, I barely felt it. Like I had enough of a fan base that they were sustaining me. Yeah, it was like, I thought for sure it was going to be at hell, but it was like, that's the importance of having being good to your fans and appreciating them and taking care of them, and because they'll be there for you.
I always I'm always stupefied by artists who treat their fans like complete shit.
I know, it's crazy.
It's like, like they're the reason why you have a fucking career, dude.
Wait, Robot and the Bear podcast. Who does that?
Name names. Come on,
Luke.
Let me think.
Actually,
well,
I wouldn't.
Okay.
I don't know.
I know it's kind of part of his facade, but like Sucklord is, he can be like this brutal.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. But God, that's kind of what you like about him in a way, right?
I think that's part of his.
But there must be some that do it by accident, because they sort of.
Oh, I'm guilty of that. I'm definitely guilty. I mean, like.
Well, that's because you forget everybody's names.
Oh, of course. I forget it.
You're just like,
I'm like,
yeah, you're the one that does paintings. Oh, that's not you. Oh, you work at McDonald's. Oh, you work at McDonald's, not. Oh, yeah, I got you mixed up with someone. Yeah, I don't know.
Well, but like, I mean,
which is fine too.
I've been accused of being like, a jackass and
really?
and that. Yeah. But like, I was also like on drugs for a good chunk of that time too. But that's a
good excuse. That's a good.
Actually, I think that chunk where you were on drugs, I guess you were always super nice to me, but I was scared.
Same here. All right.
But I was always scared. I was like,
I didn't even know he was on drugs. I just thought he was a cool dude.
Yeah, you're always super nice.
I always tried to be nice, but apparently you can't please everybody.
Yeah.
Like
happy.
But like it's so like when did you've been hustling consistently, and you've built up you a career for yourself. You're like yourself seems to regularly sell. You were one of the small handful of artists who sold at the show you curated.
Mm-hmm.
But like, when did you start building this like podcast in society?
That's a good question. When was that? I think it's been like 3 years. We're up to like 180. The last episode is episode 180.
Wow.
Yeah, it's been going like 1 week. I missed this week. I missed the week before, and I missed, I think, two other times, but it's been every week for like the last 3 years.
Wow.
And that was started by me and this guy Mike Carell, who directed this documentary about me called Chet I Like to Paint Monsters, which you can get on iTunes or you can get on my website um, as a DVD. It really came out really well. It's really good documentary. And started making a documentary about me. We kickstarted it and all that stuff. And as the documentary was being made, we noticed that really it was more about this whole kind of dark art movement that's happening and less about me. I mean, it's kind of focused on me, but it goes more into this movement of this kind of dark art scene that's happening. It's a very underground thing that a lot of people are into. And so I don't know, I just had this idea. It's like we should do a podcast that centers around this, because we don't really have, there's a lot of people that are into monsters and gothic culture and dark art and creepy stuff, but there's nothing to like galvanize them. There's not really, now there's a few galleries popping up where Coppero's kind of become more dark art, and there's Dark Art Emporium and Hyena Gallery and Last Rites, although they just closed. But
Last Rites closed?
Yeah, I think so. I think they did. Yeah, it's a bummer. But so it just seemed like a podcast would be a good way to just have some kind of home base to try and galvanize people and start this little, I don't know, just this identify this thing that's happening and try and cultivate it. And so I started out with me and Mike doing it, and we would mostly just talk shit and talk about things and talk about dark art and things we're interested in. And then he ended up leaving and going on the road and he lives in an RV with his wife, going all over the country now.
Oh, wow.
And so he had to leave the podcast. And then when he left, I was like, okay, I can't talk by myself. I could barely talk with another person. So I just started interviewing artists that I liked, and Luke's been on it.
I've been on it.
And so I just kept doing it, and people liked it, I think, even better with the artist interviews. So I just kept basically, every week I interview a new artist that's, in the dark, on the dark side of things, but not always. Sometimes it's just, artists in general, but we kind of tailor it towards people that are into that sort of thing. And people like it, I think.
One of the episodes that you had mentioned that I have not yet checked out, because I'm bad at checking podcasts sometimes.
Yeah, me too.
Is the
I never listen to our podcast. I can't stand listening to my own voice.
Same. Like I check it out once in a while and realize just how terrible I am and at it, and how
I can relate.
But yeah, you had there was a particularly interesting episode that you had mentioned about social media and like cultivating and building up your following, and like how to use the algorithm and stuff like that. And apparently you had spoken to someone who was really good at it, and like, like have you, I mean, like, what have you since like brought him back, or like have things changed? Because that was
yes and yes. I got to find what episode it is so I can let people know, but it's like our most popular episode, I think.
Oh, wow.
And
how long ago was that?
It was like a year and a half
you said
ago.
3. So that means that our algorithm still might be like being used, because they change those things, don't they?
Yeah. It does change, but I think his principles in general are good. His name goes by the name of Josh G. He episode 167 is the part 2 of his take on social media, where he gives kind of more advice. And I think it is, let me see what the first one is.
167 is part 2. Okay.
Yeah. And part 1 is, I'll find it when I'm talking, but he gives really great advice about just general rules of thumb, about how to take advantage of the algorithm. And actually he brought up a lot of good points. Hey, there's Luke Chu, episode 137. He brought up a lot of good points about why they need an algorithm. Like, we're used to seeing it as this terrible, evil thing that sucks and ruined ruined it, but he was kind of making the point that there's so many people on there that they have to find a way to filter it all, or it wouldn't work. It would just be backed up with sequential posts, and then they would become completely out of date because you're following so many people. So it's like, gave me a little more sympathy for the algorithm thing. But okay, it's episode 110.
So 110 and 167.
Yeah, at the Dark Art Society podcast. Yeah, and
All
it's
right.
really got great advice. It's a lot of kind of basic principles, but I was stuck for I think a year or two at like 107,000 people, which is a lot. It's a lot.
It's tons.
It's organic. It was organic and stuff, but I started using his principles, and I got up to 100. I'm up to 120,000 now.
You're actually at 140,000 right now.
No,
I think.
Thanks to this podcast.
I hope so. That would be nice. That would be nice.
I think that's what I saw. Let me see.
Thanks to this podcast. It's
120. Sorry,
it's blown up.
Hey, I'm here if you want to follow me, everyone, at Chet Czar. But I haven't been really focusing on it now because I actually started a Patreon, and I'm trying to just get people over to Patreon rather than do this. I'm not doing the social media as much because it's like, I'd rather have the real people willing to pay $1 a month, $12 a year. It's like it's just the people that are willing to pay $1 are like people that are really into your stuff. They're not casual viewers. Casual viewers not going to pay $1.
So how are you using Patreon? Is it for the podcast?
I've got one for the podcast. That's pays for the podcast. It's a Dark Art Society Patreon, patreon.com/Dark Art Society. And then I got my personal one, which is kind of my main one. Dark Art Society, the Patreon, you get the podcast like a day early, and we do like supplementary images and stuff from the artists who are on. And mine, I've got like all these levels of time-lapse videos, and I got like $10 a month level where I do tutorial, and I've got higher levels for collectors. You get 20% off their purchases.
What's the highest? There must be one. Is there an outlier who's just
the $100 mentorship tier where I do a monthly Skype meeting one-on-one
on OnlyFans?
No.
I'm kidding.
No, it's like for younger artists who are trying to develop their skills or want to, trying to make it in the art world. I meet with them one-on-one and I give them feedback, and it's like we text back and forth, and they can send me pictures of what they're working on and stuff. So it's been really cool to see the.
Well, how many people? Like, how many number? Because there's a limit to how many people you can take at that level, because you don't want to be bogged down by
I've got it at like 10. I think 10 is the most I can do. I don't even know how many. I've had a few people drop off. They do it for a couple months and then they drop off, and it's like it's fluctuating all the time. I'm sure I got like 7 or something maybe right now on there.
Yeah, because I've looked at the Patreon model, and I'm like, and I think to myself, like, that's that's a lot of responsibility.
Yeah, it took me a year. It took me a year to be convinced to do it. Like at first I was like, no, I'm not going to do that. This doesn't seem right for me. Mm. And then I, for some reason I started following a few. Mm. And I know what it was. I talked to Pete Moorbacher, who's a fantasy artist. He was making like $8,000 a month. I was like, oh shit, $8,000 a month is a lot of money.
Yeah, it is.
So I'm like, and he was like a big evangelist for Patreon. He was really into it. So he kind of was like talking it up to me. I had him on the podcast, and he was, like, you really should do it. And he got me all pumped about it. So I was like, all right, so I'm going to follow some people, subscribe to a few people. And I just love the idea, of just throwing your friends $1, $2, $3, $5, and supporting them that way. And I like, I don't know. I used to post, I would post everything on Instagram, like everything I was working on, just because it was like almost like a visual diary of what I was working on.
Right.
And it was content for people. It was promoting me. But I would post stuff once in a while, like a painting, And then the next day I would post a painting where I did a little more progress, and the next day a little more, and I'd have people be like, "Why are you posting the same painting?" Just being like assholes. It's like there's change, and then I realized, these are casual viewers. They're not huge fans. It's like the real fans want to see the incremental changes, and they're willing to pay $1. And so now on my Instagram, I just do like finished pieces, which is what people wanted to see all along on there anyway. They really want to see just like finished pieces of artwork.
Yeah.
So save all like the in progress stuff for the Patreon.
Right on.
Yeah.
I've always seen Patreon as a model for YouTubers, and
it's for, but it's more artists are going on. Like Christopher Ulrich got one. A bunch of people I know. David Stupakis is on there. All kinds of different people though. It's like it was started by a guy who had a band, and he was making money with his band on YouTube, doing YouTube videos. And then they changed whatever they did in the algorithm. And then all of a sudden nobody was making any money, something to do with the ads and the algorithm. I think they would make like $1,000 every time they would post a new video. And then it just went to zero.
Wow.
And so he started this platform as a way to like, this is bullshit. So he started this platform, and it bypasses all of the advertising and stuff. It's like you're going directly to the people who care about what you're doing. Yeah, the creators, and paying them directly, and you're giving them the work directly. And it's also, there's none of the algorithm shenanigans or selling your data or any of that shit, because it's like there's no need for it, because it's not an advertising model. It's not
Isn't there a competitor to it? I'm not talking about like Kickstarter, but I feel like there's other ones.
There is.
I
don't know the name though. Kickstarter was doing one called Drip actually.
Oh, okay.
And that failed, I think. I don't know.
I heard someone refer to one that's the OnlyFans that's not naked stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like
right.
There's a non like an OnlyFans, but it's got a different name, and it's for artists and whatnot.
I heard about it too. I don't remember.
Yeah. It's like app. It's kind of an app,
Right.
Yeah.
The only thing about it is that it's not a discovery platform, so you have to bring your people to it. They're like a hosting platform.
But then those are people that really want to be there for you. Then.
Yeah. So you have to go. It's like you have to go to your social media and be like, okay, come over here, and then you got to convince them to pay at least $1 or $2 or whatever your minimum is, and get them over there, because a lot of people start a Patreon and then they just kind of sit there and wait for people to find them, and you can't find anybody on there. It's not like that. It's not like YouTube. It's like you're kind of required to bring your audience with you. It's really just a place to host it. So
right on.
Yeah.
So how like
But you guys should have one. You guys should have a Patreon for your podcast.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, let's work on that, Eric.
Okay. Yeah. I was like, okay. I'm sold. I'm like, okay, yeah.
Yeah, no. I like as soon as you mentioned like what like the model that you were working on, suddenly like ideas like, oh, I could offer this. I could
totally. And the other thing is, I did it, because I have such little time, because I'm so busy trying to do all this stuff. I don't at this point, I'm not really offering physical rewards. It's all like digital stuff. It's like videos or images. I have
then you don't have to ship anything.
Yeah, I mean, I'm set up to ship because I have a whole business, but I figured I would slowly work that in as I got used to it and stuff. But I haven't really done that yet because I haven't had the time. But you can start. The thing is, you can start, very simply. Like, for example, for your podcast, you could be like, you could, if the very basic, you could say, here's a tip jar. You can pay anything you want, $1 or more, just to help support this podcast and keep it going. And you'll be surprised at how many people just like the podcast and want to support you. They're happy to give you $1 a month. Mm-hmm. It's nothing, but enough people do it. You've got like over 200,000 people on your Instagram. It's like, if you get like 0.5% of those, you'd be doing all right.
Oh, we don't have that many people on Instagram.
You don't?
Yeah, well,
I thought you had.
No, I think you went to the wrong podcast. You'll be disappointed.
286. I thought it was 286,000.
Oh, you saw a K? The K fell off. Yeah.
No,
Oh my
Anyway, though,
actually,
Luke's
I thought we were like 20.
giant robot and Luke. You guys got enough followers to promote it and get enough.
Yeah, I need to get in the habit of sharing the podcast on my personal.
hilarious.
I think both Eric and I kind of have this, like, the podcast is his own thing and this is our thing, and
Right.
And Luke said that when we had 40 episodes that this bag of money was going to fall in from the sky, but it hasn't happened yet.
They say if you get past 40 that most podcasts fail if they don't make it to 40 or something.
Okay, so we're at 60 something, but we're waiting for the bag of money.
Yeah.
Like, I keep looking outside, and I'm like,
I'm
the
still,
helicopter hasn't come in yet.
I'm still waiting for, like, Squarespace and what other, like, famous, like, like things that, like, advertise on podcasts, to just come knock on the door and
but that's
this
the thing
section
with Patreon. You don't need the advertisers if you get enough people. Like we've got like $700 a month coming in for the Dark Art Society podcast, and it's like,
wow,
that's enough to make it worth the time it takes to do it and host a website and
wow,
and
awesome.
It's like it's cool.
That's great.
And
Eric, we're going, when I go to the West Side tomorrow, we'll definitely we'll talk about this.
Okay. Or we'll just have to do it. Don't talk about it. Let's just do it. Okay, so
just set it up.
A question came from Visage Montaraza from Mexico, and he asks, "Did you work for Guillermo del Toro?"
I did. He's I met him on Hellboy, the first Hellboy film. I sculpted Hellboy's right hand of doom, and I painted it, and I did some sculpting on his torso, and just very, odds and ends. I painted his horns, and Guillermo, I don't know if he knew of my work or not, or if he knew of it because he met me at Rick's or what, but he became a fan of my artwork, and for a while he was buying everything. He was buying.
Oh, awesome!
Yeah, so
were you in that Lakma collection?
Yeah, that was
nice.
Cool. That was amazing. Yeah, I had, I think, 3 pieces in there or something. So yeah, and then I worked on Hellboy 2, where he gave me a character to completely design on my own, which was amazing. Where he gave virtually no input other than make it blend off on the actor's mouth. That was it. So I did this character called the Chamberlain, who's in it for just like, I don't know, 10 seconds or something, but still it was like I got to design this character, and it looks like one of my paintings, my style of weird creatures. Wow. So I did that, and I did the cathedral head, and what else? I'm sure I've done some others. I think I worked with him on some other stuff. I'm not sure. Anyway, he's a great guy.
Wow.
Great dude. Yeah. And a collector. So
awesome.
Nice. You mentioned sculpting, and I was, one thing I don't like see too much from you is the I don't see too many like sculpted like I'm thinking of like kind of like the art toyish kind of thing, and like like how like
right.
Sofubi and kaiju and all this other stuff kind of like became like a big thing in the it's still kind of a big thing.
Right.
Have you thought about like diving into like that? I know you did like a Kid Robot Dunny a couple of years ago for the DesignerCon thing. Have you thought about like kind of diving into that world?
Yeah, I've thought about it a lot, and it's been a time issue more than anything. And I do a lot of resin casts and stuff myself. Like all my frames have cast corners now. Like I sculpt and cast these corners to make them customize the frame. But I mean, I don't know that my style is suited to that look. It's a little more cartoony, which is, it's cool. I like it, but it's what I would like to do is like kind of like those Ashley Wood figures he was doing, those amazing
the robots.
There was robots, and there was like a guy with like a gas mask dude. It was more like a realistic kind of larger dudes. I mean, it seems like that would be a little more suited to my artwork,
Sure.
you
I can
know.
see that. Yeah.
But it's more of a time issue, you know. It's really about I'm just trying to keep things afloat, keep the machine going, and it's hard for me to give it over to someone to sculpt, because it's like I've been sculpting for fucking 20, 30 years or something. So it's like I kind of want to sculpt it myself too. So,
Right.
and I don't, it's,
I mean, like, there's always like obviously like like I was gonna say like there's like Monkey King and 3D Retro and stuff like
mm-hmm.
that, companies that could handle the like production side of it all, like taking
Well,
it out to China, but obviously
right.
you have to like sacrifice a certain percentage off of that. But
That's the thing. It's like, one, they've never hit me up, and two, it's like, I don't know how rights are. I mean, I'm not going to sell out the rights to my characters or anything like that. I don't know how that works, because these are,
they
I'm doing
don't,
a.
yeah. Like at least with that has been an issue, especially in the early days of the art toy thing. Like, but like I know, like it's like like with at least with Monkey King and with my dealings with Monkey King and with 3D Retro, like there is like contractually I allow them to have certain amounts of like possession of it, because they are putting the money into the production of it and everything. But like the artwork is, I still own the copyright of the artwork, like
Right.
of the idea. Like that is still a copyright Luke Chu,
That's cool. Yeah, yeah.
but like
I mean, I would definitely someday I'll do it. I mean, I'm working on this book,
mm,
actually, where I've been working on it. It's 4 years late. I kickstarted it, and it's finally going to get done this year. But where I'm taking, it's called Dystopia, and it's taking all the paintings I've done throughout the years and mythologizing the the world, the reality, the dimension that I'm painting, that I've been
oh,
painting
cool.
subconsciously all along without thinking it was a dimension. It was just like
So
very
they all
intuitive.
these creatures and characters exist within one universe.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So that's why I'm really like, I'm keeping the rights to all my shit, because it's, this is it's like the culmination of
Sure.
everything I've been doing. So yeah,
Wait, so what is that world?
it's kind of
How do you?
it's an alternate dimension that is.
I hope so. Yeah. I was like, if that's real, we're fucked.
I mean, the kind of the concept, I think, is it's kind of an alternate dimension that I'm tapping into. At least that's sort of how it's presented, and it's maybe the collective fears of humanity manifested in this other weird dimension. So it's all like this kind of creepy fear realm. And the way we approached it was, all these paintings I've done throughout all the years, I've always been just super intuitive, not thinking like, oh, I got to do a concept, I got to express this. It's always just been about, satisfying myself just as a painter, and just thinking this is going to look cool, or let's see where this goes, and just doing it that way, very intuitive. And so once the paintings, once we started, I talked to Mike. Mike's a good writer. Mike Carell, the guy who directed the documentary, is a really good writer. So he was like, okay, I'll interview you about the paintings, and then you tell me what you know about them, and then we'll, get rid of the stuff that you're not sure of, and just take the stuff that you know about the paintings, and then I'll, categorize it all for you, and then we'll put it into like a guidebook format. It's like a guidebook to that universe. So
Wow.
he would interview me, and then I would say, oh, this guy is doing this to this guy. And it was just like, I just knew it. And I'd never verbalized it or thought about it before. It was so weird. And then other things, it's like, I don't really know what that thing over in this corner is. So we just won't talk about it for now. But every painting had like I knew something about it. And from that, we kind of distilled all this information. And it's like there's categories and subcategories of different types of creatures and characters, and like a hierarchy. It's really interesting. It's like this weird way to tap into my subconscious, and make sense of what I've been painting. And it all really makes sense. It's weird.
When did that all like come to fruition though? Like when were you surprised?
Yeah, totally. I was totally surprised. Yeah. I mean, it's something that we started talking about, I think, or maybe 2013 when we were
Oh, okay.
doing the documentary. And a lot of people have told me over the years, your stuff looks like it all takes place in the same universe, and I never even thought about it. I was just painting.
There's a consistency to your work. Like you can spot like a Chet Zar painting,
Thank
very
you.
easily. Like it's
Yeah, I
like,
mean,
oh, and there's Chet Zar.
I've been trying to keep it that way.
Yeah. Do you ever get like, if I recall, like your father's an artist,
Mm-hmm.
and did like I know you brought him up before in like your social media and stuff. Like did his work was definitely not your work.
Yeah, no.
Um,
Well, that's a funny thing is he was a huge fan of my work. He loved it. He's into sci-fi and kind of into horror a little bit. I was like really into horror. He was more into sci-fi, but he appreciated it, and he was always really hands off. Both my parents were very supportive, but also they didn't want to like influence what I did, and anything I did they were like appreciated it. So I was able to you know just love monster stuff since I was a kid without any pushback from them. So yeah, so he just did his thing and I did my thing, and we ended up having a show together, which was really cool. Like a two-man
What
show.
What's his name?
James Czar.
James Arn. Could people look up James Arn and find his works?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's like
it's out there. Okay.
fantasy. It's like weird kind of metaphysical fantasy stuff, like meditating Zen monks and fairies and weird, real colorful and really cool stuff. He was a great painter.
Cool.
Are you so like you mentioned you're running your business, like how are you, like you only we only all artists generally only have enough time and energy to do so many shows a year, so what kind of verticals do you have to keep you afloat, like what
Uh,
different, you have the Patreon.
yeah, it's the Patreon. It's my website, mostly my website selling prints, canvas clays, resin casts, studies. That was a big
Mm,
one for a while. I started doing 5x7 studies for all my paintings, and then selling those for like $400. And
mm,
it's like they're so much easier to sell than $4,000 painting.
yeah.
So
Oh, absolutely.
I could make I could do a bunch of studies in a month and make way more than I could for a solo show. So, and they sell right away. So it was like I started doing that for a while, because you never know. I had a show in Australia recently, and they sold I think only 2 paintings,
Mm,
and it was a good show. People liked the work, and I got them back, and I'm able to sell them myself for full price, so it's all good. But you just never know. That's the crazy thing about trying to make a living as a gallery artist primarily. It would be impossible for me. I couldn't do it, no way, because you're putting all this time aside creating work, and maybe it will sell,
right.
maybe if you're lucky.
Mm,
And maybe it won't sell. So that's why I started doing prints and merchandise, because that's what keeps me afloat. And it's like the gallery shows I do at this point, I do one a year usually, and I
mhm.
might curate one or here and there. Or I've been doing the Dark Art Society now. This is the second year. So, but it's not like I get a little
And you do
percentage.
conjoined, right?
Yeah, conjoined also, yeah. But it's like those conjoined is this huge show, amazing, tons of people go every year, but it's like it doesn't sell that much.
Right.
I'm not making money from these shows. And then I do a solo show, and it's like, to me it's like it's one piece of the puzzle. One small piece is the gallery shows, and I do it cuz I think it's cool to give people an opportunity to see the work in person, and it's great for people to gather and meet and be amongst their people, and um, and I like to support the galleries. I like to support Copro because I
Gary's a good guy.
Yeah, Gary's a good guy. Erica's great, and they're a good gallery, so I like to support them in that way. But as far as money making goes, it's like it's all about the merch and the prints and anything I sell myself. Really, that's the majority of it.
That's a lot of work.
Yeah, it's a lot of work, but man, it beats sitting in traffic and going to that fucking job every day.
No,
that was killing me. An hour in traffic every day. Oh my god, that was like one of the reasons I wanted to leave the business. It was just like I can't deal with sitting in traffic.
No, the commute is a motherfucker.
Yeah,
especially like I don't know. I've never done. I've back in the day, when I first moved to Los Angeles, I did background work for like television for television shows, specifically one show called Sucker Free City, and like the hours that you had to keep in order to do that, and the kinds of people that you're surrounded with are just so fucking miserable and terrible. And it's just kind of like, you know what? Like, I have no idea how people do this shit, but fucking fuck this. And
well, I was fucking institutionalized. I started at a young age, right out of high school, so it was all I knew. So when I decided to be a fine artist, I was just like, how am I going to get out of this? Because it's a good paying job, effects.
Right. And you had a family.
And I had a family and everything, and a mortgage. And that's, I mean, Clive Barker was a big reason I did it. But, I got to give credit to my wife, who was, we had just bought the house. We had kids. We were supporting other people's kids who would come and stay, their friends who would stay over. I was the sole provider. And I was like, okay, I'm going to be a fine artist now. And she was totally cool with it. She believed in me and supported me. So it's like, I got to give her, more credit than anybody even. And my parents were also really supportive. So, yeah. And anyway, I was like at that, when I decided I was going to do it, it just seemed impossible to get out of that. Like that's all I'd known. It's like, how am I going to do this? But I just kept trying different things, and I kept showing it Cannibal Flower, and I kept trying to learn as much as I could and ask questions and figure out different ways of earning money doing it. And when I finally got out, it was like, I can't believe I did it. It took me like 10 years, but I fucking did it. And I don't have to, go to a job anymore. I mean, I'm working way more than I worked in effects. Like I'm working 7 days a week now, but I can make my own hours. I feel like everything I'm doing is contributing to my future. Whereas effects, it was like, what am I getting out of this? I already have a portfolio. I could get work without a portfolio at this point. I could just say I worked on all these movies and I did this and this effect. And, before that, you're always trying to build your portfolio for the next job or for the next gig. And after a certain point, it's like, you just feel like you're spinning your wheels, and it's like, why am I doing this? This isn't really that fun anymore. And, but now it's like, I have to work twice as hard for half as much money probably. but I have, my freedom, and I can do whatever I want. And it's like I succeed or fail on my own, by my own volition.
So do you still get hit up for work in the effects industry?
Once in a while. I mean, I kind of, at first I kind of put it out there that I didn't really want to go back. So I didn't get a lot, but I worked on a movie called Mama. I did some, it was a Guillermo del Toro produced movie. I worked on something called Priest. I do things here and there once in a while. If Guillermo were to hit me up, I would, probably work on something that he's doing, because he always does cool stuff. I did a movie called Bliss, actually, which was this indie horror movie about an artist that takes this crazy drug and turns into like a vampire demon thing, and she's painting. She's an artist, and she's painting like a giant painting throughout the movie, and at the end it's like, when the end happens, she paints this final painting, and it's this kind of big evil painting. And I did that as a side gig. on my own, and I got a title credit on the front, which is the first
Whoa.
time I ever got that in a movie. All those years in effects, I was always like on the crew, below craft services, below the gaffers and electricians. It's like we get these little credits, as one cog in the wheel, and it's like I did this indie cool art, like weird indie art horror exploitation film, and I got an upfront credit for the first time in my life. It was so cool.
So it said like artwork by Chet Zar.
Yeah. It's like painting,
cool.
Whatever Desi's painting by Chet Zar. I think that's what it said. Yeah, which is
wow. So cool. Now I have to see it. Like,
yeah, it's worth seeing. It's really. Did you see Mandy? That Nicolas Cage, psychedelic, super weird.
I never saw that.
Okay, that's a good one. That's a trip. Mandy. Yeah, it's similar in that way. It's very weird colors, really psychedelic, really super violent. It's worth seeing. It's all in LA. It takes place in LA, so it's cool. You see like the really nasty, gritty side of LA.
When was it? When was it filmed?
I think it was like a couple years ago.
Okay, so it's a relatively newer movie.
Oh, so this is like okay. Late the anything Nicolas Cage of late is going to be a little bit weird, right?
Did you see the Jujutsu?
Mandy's Nicolas Cage isn't in this one, but
Mandy, he's not in Nicolas. Okay.
No. I'm just saying it's like they kind of have a similar color palette and a vibe.
Oh, I gotcha.
But Mandy was a couple of years before that.
I gotcha.
But no, I saw. Is that real? That jujitsu? I saw like a picture, and I was like, "Did someone just make this as a joke?"
It looks like a fucking joke. It looks so bad. Like I was like, "Oh, Nicolas Cage, jujitsu. Okay, I got to fucking see what the fuck this is all about." And I watched it, and I was like, "What the fuck is this? This is terrible. Like, is this like a deep fake fucking like?" Did you see the trailer for Fat Man?
No.
Eric, have you seen the trailer? Oh my god. It's what's his name? Freaking Mel Gibson. It's a Mel Gibson film, and basically Mel Gibson it's an action kind of drama, and Mel Gibson basically plays Santa Claus. And like there's a kid who gets coal, and he calls up, I guess, one of his family hitmen, and like the hitman's trying to kill Santa Claus for giving the kid coal, and it's crazy. It looks fake, but at the same time it looks real, and it looks kind of amazing. But jujitsu it's like a really bad Matrix meets Predator.
Oh my god. Well, he must have, he's got,
and it looks like it's funded by the Chinese too, because it's like got a bunch of like Chinese actors in there, and I don't know.
It's like who's it? John Carradine. Do you remember John Carradine? He used to be in he was in these old horror movies in like the 50s and 60s, like an old time actor. And in the 70s, like late 60s and 70s, he was really old, but he had so many ex-wives and so much alimony that he had to be in every movie that would pay him. So he is in the shittiest movies ever made, like the worst, bottom of the barrel. He used to be like a respected actor, but it was like he had to come up with the money because he had like 6 ex-wives or something. So it was kind of known that he would take these, and I'm sure that's probably the case with Nicolas Cage. I heard he had financial problems. It's like you gotta do whoever's paying the money,
Yeah, you gotta take the job. Oh man, that's a crying shame.
Yeah, but, it is.
Whatever.
He went from A-list to weird movie man.
Yeah. anything you offer me. But you got to see Mandy. Mandy is a cool movie.
Mandy, cool movie, like Mandy.
Yeah, and Bliss too. Bliss is cool.
Bliss.
Yeah. So what have you got coming up, man? Are you do you still do Designer Con?
Not since they moved. To Orange. That's just too. I got too spoiled. Being Pasadena's like 15 minutes from me,
right?
And I just was like, I'm too old to drive back from Orange County, Anaheim at night after a show, and I don't want to pay for the room. And basically I'm just getting too old. But so I stopped doing them. But I do Monsterpalooza, but that's not happening, so it doesn't matter. But at this point, but I'm just working on this book. I'm doing the podcast and trying to just finish commissions. Basically, trying to get my shit together this year so that I can not be so stressed next year.
It's not going to happen.
Once I get this book done, this book has been like a serious problem for 4 years. I've been stressing about it.
Oh, because it was a Kickstarter and it funded, and then so do you have any angry people? They're like, "Where's the book?"
There's been
do they understand?
People have been really cool. So, I mean, there's been a couple of total fucking assholes who I will never forgive, but I forgot their names, unfortunately. But if I remember their names, I will never sell them anything. But it's been like 5 people maybe, and it was we funded it with. It was over 2 Kickstarters, so it was like 900 people or something, and everyone's being super cool.
Right.
So I'm very grateful and appreciative. I give updates, every month or couple months.
Here's your update right now on Robot.
That's right. I talk. It's like I'm not hiding from it. I talk about it on my podcast about how I'm trying, and it's just got out of hand. I said it would be done. I said it would be done like in 6 months because I had no idea how long it takes to make a book. And I didn't have a clear vision of the book at the time. And it's like, once you get behind on something like that, it's like, and then you got to pay the bills and keep working. It just keeps getting, I'd start to work on it and then I'd have to pay bills. So it's like, I'd have to earn some money and then I'd have to stop and then I'd have to start back up. And I finally, this year I didn't have to hustle so hard because I got this deal with these tool posters, which were really lucrative on the secondary market. So that's been keeping me afloat so I don't have to keep hustling,
right?
And I'm able to, and I got a mock-up of the book done and I sent it to the graphic designer and I paid her down payment and it's all happening finally. So, oh my God, I'm going to have a fucking party when it's done.
That's great.
I was losing sleep for a while. I was so stressed about it. I felt so bad about it. And then I was finally just like, I'm going to die. I'm going to have a heart attack if I keep worrying about this. I just got to do my best.
Well, hopefully when it comes out, we'll have put the pandemic behind us, and you can actually have like a
book signing or something.
Because that would be great. Like I'm looking forward to seeing the book. Books are. I always kind of have like weird feelings about books these days.
Like not a money maker, that's for sure. Not a money maker.
Like I always like imagined that like the day I had like a book available, like my world will have changed, and it didn't.
Yeah, exactly. The only thing that changes is you have less space in your garage because it's full of books. You take up a lot of space.
Are you still publishing the entire thing, and self-distributing?
Yeah. It's like I'm basically making the book for the people that paid for them through the Kickstarters, and then I'm ordering extra just to have to sell to people that weren't around during the Kickstarter. But it's like there's Alex Gray told me that I don't know, Alex Gray, the psychedelic visionary artist who does he's like the biggest living visionary artist. He did a bunch of stuff for Tool. He does the people that are like veins and light shooting out of them.
Oh, okay. I know his work. You're talking about.
He had a book that came out in like 1990 or something, and it's like a big book. I bought it at Wacko when it came out, I think, and it was like a huge book. Everybody I knew had that book, and you saw it everywhere. And he was saying like he did it through a publisher, and he was like, I make $1 a book or something. It's like, you don't make money off books. It's not why you do it. You do it. The only way you can make money is like what I did is you can have a Kickstarter and then sell it directly to people that want to see it. And that's how you make the money. It's not,
Yeah, that's still, when I had my book come out in 2012, I think it was. And, I never got a check from it. Not even a penny. And I had to buy my own books at wholesale and sell them, and that's how I made even like a little bit off of it. So
that's basically same with my first book, my art book, Black Magic.
Yeah.
But that company went out of business, and they actually sold me their stock.
Oh, really?
Of the books for a really good price, actually, and they're allowing me to do payments on it. So it's not like I'd have to give them a chunk. But so now my garage is full of books, but they sell consistently. It's just 2 a week or something. It's not like you're going to make a bunch of money from that. And I have them for conventions and stuff.
Have you thought about doing Pop Shop Live?
What's Pop Shop Live?
Eric.
You could sell it live online.
Yeah. You do basically, it's like streaming and selling and
like the home shopping club.
It's like that
QVC,
but it's indie.
But like what's nice about it is through Pop Shop Live, people who pay a flat shipping fee. And so like, the thing that usually kills people, especially when you're selling books, is the shipping fee.
Right.
And so like people pay $5.99 for shipping, and like Pop Shop provides you with a shipping label, and you could sell a lot more
that's cool.
of heavy stuff. And since, like you do a lot of like prints and like collectibles and books and stuff like that. So it's a great, venue to actually, that's how Designer Con is going to be this year, apparently.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they're doing because they're not like going to be doing a physical venue. Everything, like all these different artists are going to be streaming at once, and people could just jump from like stream to stream to stream, apparently. And,
cool.
And buy stuff. So we'll see how that goes. It'll be interesting.
Yeah, it's like my art is so specific. I'm like leery that my art doesn't really sell to a kind of a normal audience. Sure. It's a little too, I remember when we first were showing together, it's like my stuff was always like the darkest on the very edge of what they would let kind of what was acceptable. And I always had to explain myself and justify what I was doing. It's like your stuff had a dark edge to it, but you had a cute edge to it too, which made it like a little more palatable, I think. And I had no cuteness in mine at all. so I'm all about like, I'm like a niche guy, I got to find those right people, because there's the people are there that are into it, but it's not like a mainstream. It's a little less mainstream, I think, maybe. I don't know. I was gonna say one thing I wanted to say, I kept forgetting is, do you remember how exciting it was in the early days of Cannibal Flower? I mean, I don't know if you felt that way, but I remember thinking, oh my God, this is amazing. There's an art scene. Like prior to that, that's why I never pursued fine art, is because there was nowhere to really show cool art that I knew of.
The early 2000s in Los Angeles were insane.
They were exciting. It was so
fucking insane. Like, and I remember like when I first moved to Los Angeles, there was basically like 3, main galleries: Copro Gallery, Mary Karnowski, Luz de Jesus, and then like Giant Robot came around. Gallery 1988 came around. Think Space came around, and then and on top of that there was like dozens of like artists saying fuck 50% commission, I'm going to open up my own gallery.
And then they tried that and said, oh, I see why they take 50% commission.
Exactly. And
this is way harder than being an artist.
It is. Like I like, you've curated shows, I've curated shows. It is not easy.
No,
it is not fucking easy,
and it's not fun either.
Yeah, exactly. It is not fun. Like, it seems like this great romantic idea, like, oh, I'm going to like bring all my friends together. I'm gonna fucking put a show on.
No.
And then like you realize like, wow, my friend is a jackass.
My friends are all as disorganized as I am.
I am.
They're not sending all the information.
Yeah, you send them one invitation, and you know what? They are not going to remember. You send them an invitation half a year ahead of time, and like unless you check up on them like at least 2 months before the show, giving them a window of opportunity to actually create the 5 paintings that you need them to create.
Exactly,
like they are not going to fucking remember.
And you can't say anything because we're the same way too. It's like, or at least I've been that. I've always tried to be as professional as possible, but I've done that to people. I've done stuff where I sent the image and forgot to send the price. Anything like that, where you have to email an artist again to get some extra bit of information. Times 40, and it's a fucking disaster, nightmare. It's such a hassle. People don't realize.
Or the artist put the art with a glass frame into a box with no padding and just it's gonna get there this side up. Fragile. You write fragile on the box and it's like comes ruined. And I'm like, not even no padding.
Sculptures, man. Sculptures.
Oh yeah.
Conjoined.
We get that too.
We get at least 1 or 2 broken pieces every year.
But sometimes it's like, look at them like, whoa, no padding. Like it's just in the box, and I'm like, that's it.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm like, oh.
We had a package show up that was literally, it was all broken apart and it was loose in a box, and they said they paid UPS or the UPS store to pack it for them because they wanted to do a really good job, and they basically just threw it in a box with some peanuts or something. Crazy.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
That is awful.
It is awful.
They don't know anything. Yeah.
But I do encourage artists to go out there and curate shows. Get a look at the other side of it, for sure. Yeah, it's not easy. It is not easy. And and like I can't even imagine what it's like on the gallery side, because like the gallery is like they've got this window open, and now they're relying on the artist and
Are you really sending it? Are you sending it? Did it get sent? You didn't send it yet?
Can I show up the day of the show and bring my piece in?
Oh wait, it's 5 p.m. You're not here yet?
Like I'm in. Oh, and then they start ghosting you. They ghost you until.
Wait, you're in another country?
Exactly.
I've had that.
Yep.
Where wait, it's not happening. There's no show tomorrow because you're now in another country.
Oh man!
I'm like,
yeah.
When did that happen to you, Eric?
Not quite another country, another city.
Yeah.
But there's no show. Like, Anyway, it's happened, and it's happened where the show, all the people are there and there's no art on the wall. I've had that.
Oh
happen.
My God! Wow.
Where all of a sudden it's like 8:30 p.m. The artist comes with their stuff, and I was like, "Oh, let's put this up right now," and hustled it and made it work. But it was like,
I've done that once.
See what I mean? We're
Life
guilty.
happens.
We're guilty.
Life happens. It's tough.
Yep. I have definitely done that once. It was probably one of the most embarrassing moments of my life. Like I was in the back of a gallery crying for freaking like hours afterwards. Really hopped up on fucking drugs and
oh my God,
fucking mess. But
sounds like a nightmare.
Yep, it happens.
Yeah.
Chet, I know you got to run soon. So how can people find you?
You can go to, my website's being built, but it's, if you go to chetzar.com, CHETZAR, that has a link to my web store where all my merch is sold. On Instagram, I'm at chetzar. On Patreon, which is the best place to find me, if you can afford $1.
Help get Chet to 140. You can do it. You guys can do it.
Patreon is patreon.com/chetzar. And we have a Dark Art Society Patreon, which is patreon.com/Dark Art Society. And I think that's it, right? Yeah, that's pretty much everywhere I am. I'm pretty easy to find.
Nice. Chetzar. It's not like a common name that like everyone has.
Yeah. It's it's a weird one, and it's
Chet,
real. So.
Thank you so much for
Thank you.
coming on out and doing the podcast. It was great having you.
Thanks, man. I had a blast.
And like I had no idea like how long you were like in the movie industry stuff, because like when we did your podcast, like the last person we were talking about is you. So welcome to the hot seat, and thank you so much for being a good sport.
Yeah, it's great hanging out. Keep doing it, and yeah, talk to me about Patreon. I'm telling you,
Patreon.
No,
if you have any questions, hit me up.
Yeah, we don't live too far apart. I would love to hopefully catch up, one of these days, and I definitely want to pick your brain about that again too.
I'll show you my high school makeup effects portfolio. I still have it.
Oh, fuck yeah! I can live stream that shit on the fucking on what you call it.
No, put it on the Patreon page.
I'm gonna put it on my Patreon now that you mentioned it.
There you go.
Yep. For members only, man.
Yep.
Members only.
Only fans. Yeah. All right. Thanks a lot, Chet.
Thank you so much, man. Have a good day, man. Have a good rest of your week.
Yeah, you too. Take it easy.
See ya.